Welcome to this week's edition of Coach Prep. I'm flying solo this week. With the Thanksgiving holiday, Coach Don's got some family stuff, so I'm going to knock out a strong little episode for you here of Coach Prep, where we're going to talk about some recruiting stuff today, something that I think is an interesting topic for a lot of our coaches, especially those of you that are involved with helping your players trying to get recruited. And that's something that I think is an important thing for all of us to be paying attention to, and that is some of the things with the recruiting rules and the recruiting time frame. It's a very important thing that everybody needs to be paying attention to. But before we get into that, first off, let's talk about patreon.com/everythingfastpitch. If you're in a position where you can help us, we would love for you to become a patron. We've got a great group of patrons that have been helping us for a long time. We certainly do appreciate all their help. We would love to see some more people come on board. And one of the things that we're super proud of is the number of people that we reach and the amount of people that are listening every week. But the only way that that's possible is if people support us financially. And the patrons are our greatest thing. Obviously we've got a handful of sponsors also, but our biggest supporters are our patrons, and we would love for you to become one if you can. So again, patreon.com/everythingfastpitch. So quick little recruiting topic this week. During the holiday, it struck me how a couple of things have changed in the last 5, 8, 10 years. And one of those is some very specific windows, the one that we're in right now for the Thanksgiving holiday, which is basically an absolute recruiting shutdown. And one of the things that I think is important is you look at the recruiting calendar, there's a lot of things about it that can be really confusing. Dead period, quiet period, recruiting period, evaluation period, and all of those different periods and different times on the calendar have different meanings, and sometimes it's very, very confusing. So one of the things that I think is important and why this was a fun topic for today, when I hear the word dead period, that it's a dead section in the recruiting calendar, to me that would mean what I think this shutdown period really means, but it doesn't. The dead period still allows different kinds of contact and different kinds of visits and things like that to happen. But the recruiting shutdown is absolutely what it sounds like, what it means. This one goes from November 27th to December 1st. There's another one around Christmas to New Year's. There's another one, I think, during the NFCA convention. But the recruiting shutdown is really simple. No phone calls, no texts, no emails, no visits, no contacts, no evaluations, no social media interactions, and no written or electronic correspondence. So nothing could be more clear than that. Nothing could be more absolute than that. But I think it's important that we understand that it can be really confusing. So knowing the rules and getting to understand what the different time frames in the recruiting calendar mean can be a really important thing for coaches that are going to try to help their players who want to get recruited. I just thought that this was an interesting one because it happens at specific times of the year. And it's important that you know that if you sent an email to a coach on November 27th, you're not going to hear anything back. If you left a message, if you tried to text them, they are not going to be texting back. They're not going to be calling back until after December 1st. And the reason that that's important is we don't want anybody to get offended, but more importantly, we don't want anybody to jump to the wrong conclusions. If you've been communicating with a coach and then you send them a text message right at the beginning of this shutdown period, and then all of a sudden 4 days, 5 days go by and you haven't heard anything, a lot of people, I think, could jump to the wrong conclusion of thinking, well, they must be mad at me, or they must be mad at my player, or they must not be interested anymore, or any number of dozens of other things that people might think. And the reality of it is they can't even tell you, sorry, I can't respond to you. They absolutely cannot contact you in any way, shape, or form. And I think once we understand that, it certainly clears up a lot of potential misunderstandings and makes for a very clear relationship and sharing of information back and forth when it's appropriate. So one of the things we've talked a lot about on Everything Fast Pitch is for coaches that are trying to help their players get recruited, that there's a lot of things that are really important for them to know and for those coaches to be aware of. And number one, I think right now is the recruiting calendar. Something that you could be interested in on our fastpitchprep.com website, in our YouTube channel, we've got a video series that we did a few years ago. Now, much of the dates and some of the different things that used to be applicable have been changed, but there's tons of really good information in there about skills videos and contacting coaches and the kinds of things that college coaches notice and like to see. Just a lot of information that I think is still very applicable. It's universal. It's never going to be out of touch. And obviously, There's a lot more ways now to get in touch with college coaches. We just want to make sure that nobody's trying to do it during these recruiting shutdown periods. So from November 27th to December 1st, and then more to come, no calls, no texts, no emails, no visits, no contacts, no evaluations, no social media interaction, no written or electronic correspondence. When it says recruiting shutdown, it really means shut down. So that's going to wrap up this Coach Prep. Please make sure you reach out to us with questions, comments, ideas, and also with Player of the Week nominations for the Everything Fast Pitch podcast at everythingfastpitch@gmail.com or fastpitchprep@gmail.com. Either email address will work. Please go to the fastpitchprep.com website, order your Square Cuts training discs there. They're $49.95 a dozen. If you order them right now, we can still try to get them to you in time for Christmas. But also take advantage of the YouTube channel and the blog post. There is tons and tons of information available on our fastpitchprep.com website. Please make sure that you consider becoming a patron. Go to patreon.com/everythingfastpitch. And again, thank you very much in this holiday season to all of our patrons. We really do appreciate all that you've done for us. We would love to see some more people come on board. Again, patreon.com/everythingfastpitch. So Coach Don and I will be back together next week. We're looking forward to cranking things up again when we get back together. But in the meantime, for Coach Don McKinley and our producer Stan Lewis, this is Coach Tory saying thanks for listening. We'll talk to you again next week.